This is the Boston Sports Pod, the podcast that brings you all things Boston sports with Joe and Shawn. Today is May 31st, 2014. I'm Shawn Klein, and my co host is Joe Danker. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Shawn? How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. So,
Excellent.
we were just talking before we started the podcast just how since our last podcast, the Red Sox have not lost. So we
No, they haven't.
they must have heard us complaining and bitching and moaning about them, and we called them
But
out, and they've answered.
yeah, that's how it works. That's exactly what happened. That's happened before. They listened to us.
So yeah, they've won five in a row. Uh, what I guess three against the Braves, and then one now against the Rays, and now they're up right now. I mean, it's only four innings in at this point, but they're up by 5 runs. So things seem to be turning around. Now they're still 6.5 games back, but they're not in last place anymore. So that's an improvement.
Nope, Tampa
Yep.
Bay is.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. So I don't know what that. I mean, that's one of the questions in terms of this. What do you want to call it? Turnaround, or I mean, it's obviously better than not winning, but how real is this is a question, right? Because in this turnaround, how much of this? I mean, Atlanta's not. We thought Atlanta maybe was better than it was, but who knows how good they are? Um, and the Rays are obviously in last place, so it's that's not partly it's how much of this is real, or how much of this is the Red Sox are now playing a couple bad teams and are getting hot, and how important is that? I mean,
uh,
so
yeah, it's a real good question, Shawn. I mean, I think the Braves came along at a great time. I think we did kind of beat up on the Sisters of the Poor when we took four straight from the Rays. The Braves. We took four straight, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Um, they're not
no,
that good. They didn't
three,
look
three,
that good.
three, three.
Three, right? Okay. They did not look very good. Uh, that's what it takes sometimes to turn around a losing streak, or like sometimes you got to beat up on the teams you're supposed to beat up on
Right.
to turn things around a little bit. Now you could look at it and say the Red Sox at the time were the sisters of the poor themselves, sisters of the poor themselves. They were 20 and 29 or whatever the record was at that point. So two bad teams going up against each other at that point, at least as the records would indicate. Now Tampa Bay, I think it's a different story. I think Tampa Bay. We were talking about this last on the last podcast. We're surprised at how poorly Tampa Bay is playing so far this year, and
Right.
people are surprised at how poorly the Red Sox have been playing up to this point. I think Tampa Bay is better than their record shows. They're ever since Madden took over, they have been a competitive team,
Oh
and
yeah.
with that pitching staff and the way he has them play ball, they're a good team. They're just struggling right now. So I think to answer your question, it's a little bit of both. The Braves weak, Tampa Bay not playing great ball right now, but they're a solid team. In fact, I'll go on record as saying they're a good team, and I think they'll be in it at the end, or at least battling for a wild card. I think later on in the season. So, but I think it's great that the Red Sox are going up against the Rays right now. As we'll get into, it's a heated rivalry. The
Yeah.
games are competitive, and they got that guy Price, who's he's a terrific pitcher. There's some other things about him I'm not fond of, but he's
Yeah.
a terrific pitcher. So I think what we're seeing right now, the Red Sox and the Rays, are I think it's a good competitive measuring stick for us at this point. So I'm happy about them what they're doing with the Rays right now. I don't think it's a case of we're playing a bad team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you're happy about it because you want them to win, and you want them to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. So, I don't mean that as a criticism. It's just more of, okay, what happens when they go back and they play the Tigers, or they play, another team that's playing better? Are we going to see them drop back again, or are they going to be able to maintain this? But I do think that a big
Mm-hmm.
part of it is, the confidence, getting the confidence, particularly since you have a young team, and you have guys that are rookies. I mean, they got a rookie pitcher tonight, De La Rosa pitching. You got
He's
Bogarts,
throwing really well.
yeah. Um, and yeah, I mean, he hasn't let up anything.
No, through five now,
Has
or
he
into the
has
fifth.
has he walked a guy? I don't think so.
I don't know, 3 hits into 5 innings, no runs,
With
looking
three
good.
hits.
He's got
Okay.
a nasty changeup, man. Are you able to watch it out there right now? You just
No, it's not
switch
on.
board.
I just got it on the MLB app. So yeah, it's not
He's
on
got a
TV.
he's got a filthy changeup with great arm action. So I like seeing the pitch. Could be the
Yeah.
real deal. Could be. Mm.
Yeah. So, with these young guys, Bogarts, you got Herrera starting tonight. Um, you know, who else? Brock Holt.
Holt,
Right. A lot of
yeah,
these guys
about
getting,
2 run home run.
yeah. So they're, his first home run in the major. So I mean, it's
Yep.
it's, that aspect of building the confidence and getting confidence and feeling okay, this is what it's like to win, and I think that's gonna help, and now I think a big part. What do you think? Let me ask you this: what do you think is the most significant thing in these 5 games? Is there one thing that you can point to that you
Mm.
think is the most significant thing in why they're winning these games versus losing them?
No, actually, I can't. And I was trying to think of that when I was doing a little prep for the show. I don't think there's, I don't recognize any one significant thing that they are doing differently. Um, there's a few different little things. There's one thing that I think is a real good indicator about the future of this team for this season and how they had a couple of great comeback wins. I think that builds character. Um, Last year, the team had a outstanding record. Um, they they might have broke the record for in one season, walk offs or comeback wins or some ridiculous
Right.
stat they had last year. So I think that is indicative that this team is really coming together. But what goes into those wins? Listen, we've had good pitching. Some of the young guys, like we just mentioned, Bogarts, Holt, now De La Rosa throwing tonight, are starting to play really well. Bogarts is looking better at shortstop. And you said in the last, or did we text it?
It was text.
Um, it was a text.
Yeah.
Sorry. Ever since the Stephen Drew signing, what about a week ago, Bogarts has been playing a great ball, not only hitting the ball, but
Right.
he's playing better at shortstop too. So
Well, he's
the
just hitting the
Stephen Drew
snot out of
sign,
the ball now. I mean, he's just,
oh, he's
in
yeah, he's looking
in
so good.
but in the game last night, he got the tying run, or he hit home the tying run, and
That's right.
then in and then one of the other games, he had one of the walk off hits, I think, or one of
Hmm.
the go ahead runs. So I mean,
Hmm.
um, he's hitting the ball really well now. So
Yeah, the only
that's
question with him was is he a major league caliber shortstop in the field? And he did not look like one for the first month and a half of the season.
yeah,
But now like I said, signing Stephen Drew and how he responded to that in the clubhouse and how he was responding to it on the field it looks really good. So that's been big. Solid pitching, timely hitting.
yeah.
Not one major thing. Do you, Shawn, recognize any
Well, I
one
think
major thing that's contributed to this turnaround?
Yeah, well, not one, but I think the two things, which is in some ways so trivial to say, good pitching and timely hitting. I mean, anytime you have that, you're going to be doing well in baseball, right? So I mean, it's kind of,
Right, right,
it's a very madness thing to say. Well, they scored more points, so they're
right.
going to win. But so even though it's kind of cliche, I do think that the offense getting those timely hits, even from guys like Bradley, who aren't exactly um, hitting the ball really well, are still, he got one of the important hits in Lester's game, um, and so that's and Bogart's getting hot and other guys starting to hit. I think that's big because I think that's a big part of why they were losing so much in the losing streak, was, or at least what I saw, they were just leaving a lot of guys in scoring position and on base, and not getting those timely hits that would have made a difference in the game. And in these last 5 games, I think that's what we've seen is they've done that. At the same time, I think there's been some good pitching. Not, I think Lackey's outing, was fantastic.
Yep.
That was solid shutout. That's you go 7 innings. I mean, you need that. Help save the bullpen, shorten the game, all that stuff, right? I mean, Workman was having a nice night last night
He
before
was. He
before he
was.
got ejected. But again, I mean, and Lester had a good outing. So I mean, there
Hmm.
there were some good outings in there, but well, not Buchholz's
PV.
game. Um, yeah, which game was
Yeah.
PV?
Who? Clay Buckles? Who's that? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that guy.
Buchholz. Yeah. So, yeah, no, none of them were, except for Lackey, none of them were really, I think, star performances. I mean, they were good, solid pitching performances, which you need that help save your bullpen to go particularly getting the distance, unlike when a couple weeks ago when you had Buckholz and Dubron and Lester, just maybe not Lester, but not being able to go more than 4 innings. You just
Yeah.
burn your bullpen, and then they're not
Hmm.
really going to be there even when you have a game where the starter goes seven. Then you don't really have anybody close out the game well, and because you've burned through your bullpen. So that's
Yeah,
tough.
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
When the starters can't get you more than 4 or 5 innings and you're losing, and then you burn your bullpen and you lose the game.
All right.
That sets it up. It's a cycle of defeatism, sort of. It's a cycle. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's not good for the team. It's not good for that game, and it's not good for the next 2 or 3 games. And it just, yeah, it breeds losing. So
Right. So, I mean, those two things, although if I had to weigh them, I probably might lean a little bit more towards the hitting as the more significant thing. Um, just because the pitching situation is definitely better, but I think the hitting situation is much more improved, and that's a big reason why. And even just tonight, I mean, just getting a lot of they're in the fifth inning and they already got 8 hits, and so they're hitting the ball regularly. They're not just scattering them. They hit so they're getting some
yeah,
things done. So that's good.
yep.
All right. So the Rays, the craziness with the Rays.
Oh,
I mean, last night that I still that's crazy. I just don't get it. Like,
what the how the what the umpires did
well,
to
so
us?
the
I don't
Rays
get it either.
the Rays hit two guys and no one gets
Right,
tossed. The Red Sox don't hit
right,
anybody and they got a player and three coaches tossed. So I mean,
right,
now you got to put that into context, which is that I mean Workman got tossed because he threw behind Evan Longoria. Now
right.
he claims that the ball got out of it just left because the conditions were rainy and it just lost control. And there's some
We all
plaus
know that's bullshit, Shawn, right?
there's some plausibility to it, but yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
bullshit. Much like Price was saying that his hits weren't intentional either.
Please.
Um, you know, and
I
and
think every hit batter or thrown at batter in that game was intentionally thrown at. I
I,
know that the Price second when he hit Carp, so I don't think so, but no, I believe he did. Price, and you probably heard the stats too. Price throws less than one walk per 9 innings this year. He has 8 walks total in all his outings so far this year. The guy has impeccable control.
yeah.
He knows where he's throwing the ball at all times,
Well, I
so
mean,
he knew what
his
he was doing.
his his claim is that not so much that he got away, but that he wasn't trying to hit him, but he was trying to protect his plate and protect the his the inside pitch. But
Baloney.
yeah, and it's it's it was just weird because he warned them so quickly. I mean,
I know.
and then and then threw out Farrell really quickly and kind of surprisingly.
I know.
Although Farrell
Right?
seems to drop a lot of f bombs on the when you if you do some
Is that what? Is that anything?
when you
You
if you
think he
do
was dropping f bombs when he was walking out of the dugout?
when you do the lip reading on Farrell, he's got a he's Bradley just hit a home run, a 2-run shot.
Did he really?
Yeah, look at Bradley coming
Yeah.
alive. Um,
Wow. If he can hit over 200, that'd be great.
he's over 200 now. Um,
Yeah, 209.
uh,
Boy.
uh, so, but yeah, so now the Sox are up 7-0. Um,
Yeah. Six
so
in a row, baby. Oh, did I just jinx it? I hope not.
you probably did. Um,
Uh,
and So what the hell was I saying?
I don't know, something stupid. No, you were saying sorry. You were saying
Okay,
you were
Beavis.
saying how Jackie Bradley is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. You should listen to me when we're talking. Uh,
No, but I was.
no idea what I was saying. That's really embarrassing. Uh,
This is gonna be edited.
maybe might leave it in for flavor.
Maybe not. Well, we were oh well we talk about the
Oh, right,
bean
right,
balls
right,
and
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
so
Farrell, how he's
Farrell
dropping F
drops a
bombs.
lot of a lot of f bombs in his at least apparently when you lip read. So that could be it. So, but he did toss him really quickly, and then given the situation, you have the previous the last time they had met, they had bench clearing. He had already hit a guy. Both benches warned, and here you have a pitcher who has impeccable control, and he hits another guy. Now
Hmm.
it's hard to judge intention and all that, but you've worn both benches. And this is a situation that's already kind of hot. And I think they just made it worse by, not throwing Price out at that point,
Right.
and uh, and then to throw out you know, the what's his name, the Red Sox backup manager, or whatever, and then
Butterfield.
right, and then it just got out of hand. But if the ump really didn't believe it was intentional, then yeah, he made the right call. But it's it's I don't know. It just seems a messy situation. I mean, partly I don't. It's because I don't like the warning of the benches. I think that's stupid. Um,
I agree.
and it doesn't do anything. If anything, all it does is give the team one free beanball. Instead of trying to
Yeah.
reduce actual hitting of the batters, it just gives the team one free beanball. Now, granted, the
Right.
the ump can still throw you out if he thinks it's intentional, but and that has happened. But it's one of the interesting statistics is that when they've because for a long time the American League had many more hit batsmen than the National League. And some people said that had to do with the designated hitter, and you don't have the pitcher hitting
Probably
and scoring.
does. Probably
There's some
did.
there's some sort of moral hazard that's created there by the designated hitter rule.
Right.
Well, the National League, since they've instituted warnings, the National League has actually evened out hit batsmen.
Hmm. I've heard
And
that too. Yeah, I've read that too.
so that's an interesting statistic. It's not causal, obviously, but it suggests that there might be something with the warning system that's not really working if your intention is to reduce hit batsmen. Um,
Right.
but the other aspect of this is this whole bullshit of the unwritten rules. I mean, I know it's sacred to
Hmm.
baseball players, and I have baseball students who are student athletes who play baseball, and this is important to them, and I know it's part of the culture, but it's just friggin' stupid.
Yep.
It's a machismo. I mean, oh
Yep.
well, he hit a home run off me, so I'm gonna hit him, or he he
Please.
he took too long going around the bases. Or even like with the Red Sox when Gomes came out of oh well,
Yeah.
he didn't need to steal then. It's like, well,
Please.
yeah, don't,
Then stop him from stealing.
yeah, exactly. It's just,
Throw them out. If they're beating you that bad, don't give up all those runs. Like I agree, man, 100%.
yeah. I mean,
Those unwritten rules are garbage,
yeah. I
and
think
and
it's
it's
silly.
it's all like um, he hit the home run and he trot around too slowly. Grow up,
Right,
I mean, eh, many dozens of hitters, home run hitters over the years, have trotted around slowly. If you're the pitcher and you just gave up a home run, get over it. Okay, the guy's going to trot around a little bit and that's no. I don't think that gives you any justification for throwing at him next time. I mean, we're in a different season now. It's alleged why Price threw at Poppy
right.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think that's all garbage. But
Well, then you
what I
listen to the
do,
old timers, and they talk about like they'll bean someone 4 years later for something. You're like, why'd you hit me? Oh, well,
I know,
you got
right?
a home run off me 4 years ago. Like, what?
I, you looked at me when you were around in second base. Oh, come on,
I
man.
know.
Totally. But you know what? What I do agree with in baseball, and why I think the warning system that's in place neuters what baseball had in place was, you know what? If Price went and hit Poppy, then Workman comes out and he dings Longoria, we're even.
Yeah.
Play on. That's how baseball has done it for decades. Now, Price hits Hoppy, both benches get warned. Now that puts the Red Sox in the position where they can't go with that time-honored baseball way of settling the dispute. Hit the guy, hit the star player on the raise.
Yeah.
Boom, it's even. Let's go play the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Now the umpires I think exacerbate. How's that word?
You said it.
Exacerbate.
You can say it. I can't say it. Exacerbate.
I think it exacerbates things because now the Red Sox can't. Well, maybe I'm not
the
laying it
bigger
out clearly,
the
but
bigger the bigger worry I think is that the Sox pitchers now have to be so much more careful with their inside pitch that
I
they
was
lose
getting to
part of the
that too.
plate.
Exactly.
Not so much that they
Exactly. They
can't
lose
go and
part of
hit
the
the
plate.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
think the retaliatory thing is pretty stupid as well. I mean, I get that. I mean, we talked a little bit about that in previous podcasts when we talked about hockey, and
Yeah.
hockey fights, and I don't completely buy it. I don't quite think that that's really justifiable. Um, at best, it might be justifiable when you had the pitchers hitting and you hit the pitcher who hit your guy. At least then
Okay.
it's more direct rather than having a kind of, hit your star or something like that. Like that, the justification gets even more strained at that point. But so
See, I'm totally down with that. You don't like it. I think it's a way of settling things. Like the way you and I disagree, but like in hockey, your star player gets drilled by tough guy on the other team. Well, you send out Shawn Thornton if you're the Bruins to fight that guy, and the issue settled. You know what I mean? Like there's that sort of self-policing aspect in the game. I like it. I like it.
yeah, I there's aspects of it that that's why I'm torn on because there's aspects of it I like keeping it between the players, get penalties and refs stopping the game and all that kind of stuff going on. But I don't think it's really justifiable ultimately that to do it. Like it's a bit primitive. It's kind of
Okay. Yeah.
it's like an old west kind of justice, and
Yeah.
revenge more than justice.
Frontier justice.
Yeah, and I think uh, it, at the level of games that we're talking about, I think they're it, it's not it doesn't pass scrutiny. I think to be justifiable, particularly because you do have a lot more umpires and officials watching the game, and the stuff shouldn't happen to begin with, right? And so that's I think that should be the target of trying to find ways to not have that part of the game, you know,
Okay.
and in
Yeah.
the first place. And so having it part of the game, and if it's going to be a part of the game, then maybe some aspect of self-policing is better than having the officials do it. But it's a harder thing to justify, I think, just because you know in actual life we don't justify those kind of things. I mean, um,
That's true.
it's like if if you rob from me, I don't go to your sister's house and rob her, right? I mean, that's not justifiable. It's not justifiable for me to go to you and rob you. Now, it may be justifiable for me to take your stuff back or to protect myself when you're robbing me, right? But if you rob me, for me to just then go to your house 2 years later and rob you and say, "Ha, I got you back," like, right? That doesn't really work justifiably in terms of justice. So if we're really concerned about justice
Well,
here,
okay. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you philosophically, Shawn, but I guess I'm a more primitive beast because an eye for an eye is really what it comes down to, is what we're talking about here.
to some
And
degree, it's more like this other guy's eye for your eye, right?
yeah, I see what
Not
you
even,
say. Yeah,
you know,
a step beyond that. Yeah, but an eye for an eye somehow to me it works for me. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. All right. No, I
I'm
mean,
not sorry. I'm a
it,
primitive beast.
right. It resonates to a degree with me. I think in the same way that it resonates with a lot of people because there's something more tied into our sense of social beings to have that sort of justice. I mean, it's just part of primate chimpanzees do the same thing, um, and so or similar kinds of things in similar situations. So I mean that sense
Mm,
of fairness is and being able to see that fairness sort of executed. So you have, okay, well, they hit our guy, we'll hit one of theirs, and it's balanced and fair. There's a kind of baseline sense of fairness, I think, that people are attracted to. Uh, but I think as we've developed as a civilization, and then I think as baseball has developed, there may be time to try to find different ways to deal with those things.
okay.
All right, so back to this craziness. Um,
Well, let me say this. Okay, where it really got out of control, in my opinion, or got, I texted to you last night, NBA style refereeing,
yeah,
okay, was when they didn't throw Price out when he hit Carp. I'd like an explanation. Well,
the
they said
explanation,
because they
yeah,
didn't
they,
think that
they
he didn't intend to hit him.
right,
That's not the point. I think that's besides the point. I guess the umps have that the ability to make that distinction and rule upon that. Fine, okay. But in that game, in that heated environment, the umps should have thrown Price out because I think it would have calmed the game down at that point.
yeah.
That it further exacerbated the Red Sox when Price didn't get thrown out. It seemed like, wow, what do we got to do? You know, the guy throws it twice. A warning's been given. He hits another batter. I mean, you got
Well,
to throw the guy out if the umps. You got to.
I
It's
mean,
ridiculous, in my opinion.
I sympathize with that, and I tend to agree with it. I do worry, though, that's we're looking at it from our perspective, from as a Red Sox fan. Turn it
Darn
around.
right.
I mean, if we turned it around and the situations were reversed, and you have our star pitcher Lester Lackey. I don't know who qualifies as a star pitcher right now, but Lester Lackey, and they're pitching pretty well. And you have a pitch that's up and inside, hits the guy, and he gets thrown out on a kind of, I don't want to say technicality because that's not quite what it is. I think
I
we
know what you're saying.
we'd be
Yeah.
I think we'd be kind of pissed off. We'd be like, well, it wasn't on
Yeah.
purpose. But at the same time, I wonder we might also understand. All right, well, maybe he did really intend to hit him. Maybe he didn't, but you know the situation was such that you knew that you had to be careful with that inside pitch, and you weren't careful with the
Mm,
inside pitch. So,
mm,
that's
yeah.
I think we might be a little bit biased on that. Well, we're probably a lot
Well,
biased,
I definitely am. You're right
right?
because when you put the way you put it, if I was looking at it, like say that was Lester who did that and he got thrown out, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
that's a key thing to do, I think, to make sure that you're not just looking at it through one set of lenses, and but I still think turning it around, I'd be pissed, but I could understand why he would be thrown out and in that situation. And so I while we are certainly being biased, I don't think we're as biased as maybe we might be accused of by a Rays fan. um,
correct.
but
Very very well said.
yeah, but and Madden probably would have gone out and he would probably have been thrown out, but then that would have been all even, and that probably would have been it. You wouldn't have had Workman thrown at Eva
Right,
Longoria and stuff, so that probably would have been it at that point.
right.
But so far, nothing in the game in tonight's game, so I think they're probably trying to.
No, yeah, and I was expecting some more fireworks, but
Yeah.
nothing. And I was looking forward to some fireworks. You know how I am, man. I like hockey fights. I like Donnie Brooks in baseball. I like that stuff. It's
Yeah.
exciting. See Poppy lose his mind last night.
Yeah,
It's exciting. Did you read some of the comments he made afterward?
they're a bit over the top. This is all war now, or
Yes.
something like that. That's pretty
Yeah,
over the top.
he called Price a little bitch a couple of times, called him a girl, said grow up son,
Yeah.
this and that. I even as much as I love Poppy, as much as I love delivering pizzas to him a few years ago, met him a couple times, great guy.
Had to
Good
drop
tipper.
that in, didn't you? Had to drop that.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. He and I are boys. Um, that I thought that
Of
was
course,
over the top. That he shouldn't have said that stuff.
the problem with bringing that up, Joe, is that you have to admit that you were delivering pizzas.
I know. When I was coming out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, I just admitted I delivered pizzas a couple of years ago. I was going through a career pause. Let's put it
Yes.
that way. Okay,
Yeah.
folks. All right.
Now let me ask you this. So we've been last couple years, 4 or 5 years, the Rays and the Sox, been going at it. We often have these bench clearing brawls when we play them. We've had these, pretty heated series in the postseason. Is is this rivalry, this bad blood, is it worse than the Yankees?
Right now it is.
Yeah.
I think right now it is. Yeah, the Yankee Red Sox rivalry, macro is much a much bigger thing
Yeah.
nationally in the perspective of sports and sports fandom as a whole. That's a much bigger concept. Red Sox and Yankees. I
Well,
mean,
I
that's
mean,
a
because it's
traditional,
right. It's a his
massive. It's Celtics Lakers. It's Bruins Canadians. It's um, Rangers Flyers.
Auburn,
It's a
Alabama.
marquee rivalry. It's Giants Cowboys. What?
Auburn, Alabama. That in football.
Bingo. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that kind of rivalry.
Yeah.
But right now, Red Sox Rays is much more intense and there's much more bad blood going on
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I think you put it right. Like macro, it's Red Sox Yankees is nothing that compares to that. But on the
No.
micro, and in the last couple of years, it's. I mean, we haven't had that kind of bad blood with the
Mm,
Yankees
yeah.
really. I mean, just because you know they haven't been very good. Uh,
No, no, they really we haven't seen them in the playoffs.
yeah,
There hasn't been any of those like tight late season games where there hasn't been Jason Varitek, going up to
popping a
punch.
run. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but it goes the Red Sox Rays. I mean, in my memory, it goes back to when Pedro Martinez was throwing for us. I mean, that's I think kind of it started around the turn of the century there. Um, but one of Pedro's great games, he threw a no hitter into the ninth inning, and he dinged Gerald Wilkins, whatever, one of these sort of punch and Judy hitters on the Rays. He drilled him, and there was a bench clearing incident, all this and that, and he went on to throw almost a no hitter. And there was sort of a back and forth there between the teams then. So that was back in like 2000, 2001, whatever. So it goes back now 14 years, maybe more, maybe 13 years, whatever. And it's been pretty intense, and
yeah, but the
last year
Rays
in
the
the
Rays
AL
weren't any good
games,
then, so that it's
no, they were not. You're right.
no,
Now they've become good.
yeah,
So that, yeah, you're right. That adds a whole new element to it. You're right. They're competitive with us now.
right.
So
Yeah, and I think that definitely adds the element because, back when the Trop was Fenway South and
right.
There were more Red Sox fans there than there were Rays fans, although that still might
I
be
know.
the case.
Well, it
And
still might be, but yeah, I know what you mean.
and I mean those were just they were the Red Sox and the Yankees both. I mean we owned them, and it was an easy like
Mm,
20 wins a year. So, um,
right.
it was one of the reasons that, and then the Orioles were awful, and so it was one of the reasons that the Red Sox and Yankees were so dominant in that period. I think in the AL East was because it was just the two of them. They didn't really have to
Yep.
worry about anybody else. Well, now you do. I mean, because the Orioles are better, more competitive. The Rays have been great these last 4 or 5 years, and
And the
Toronto is
Toronto's running away with the division right now.
well, not running away with it,
No,
but
I know, but you know what I
yeah,
mean.
but yeah, they're doing pretty well. So,
Yeah.
so you brought up Pedro. Talking about the Yankees. The other big thing
Yeah.
going on that would happen this week was they had a big celebration at Fenway for
Yep.
2004,
Good.
uh, and the anniversary, because this is the 10-year anniversary of the Red Sox winning the World Series in 2004 after 86
Woo woo.
years. And so they had a big ceremony. I wasn't able to catch it. Did you catch any of it?
No,
I've seen
unfortunately, I
clips
was
of it.
still working.
Yeah,
I worked late that night. Yeah, I saw a few clips.
yeah.
Read about it a lot in the local papers, the local blogs, and on local sports radio. Um, but still, some interesting things that came out from it. Yeah.
So one thing was just remembering the stories again and hearing the stories
Mm.
and then I watched I think it was last week as well. I watched the um,
4 days in October.
yeah, the 30 for 30 film, 4 Days in
Oh,
October, which is just
it was
fantastic.
awesome. Oh, it
Uh,
gives me chills when I watch it, man.
yeah.
Tingles in my spine.
And it's great because you just, it's been 10 years and so much of it was a blur because you were just
Oh,
basically sitting in a trance most of the game going, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. So, it's
I
so much of it I
know.
don't remember, but so it's fun to go back and really see and remember and the different contributors like Derek Lowe, that game seven
Right?
and how well he pitched it's good to go back and remember that.
Yeah,
And
he had a really poor regular season, but
yeah,
he was nails in the playoffs.
yeah,
Nails.
yeah, he was great. But one of the interesting things, and this, I wanted to bring up because Manny came back to Fenway for, and he
God, what a
threw out
clown.
threw out the pitch. He made some apologies and tried to make
Yeah.
amends.
Oh,
Uh, you know, and one of the so I bring that up in the context of the 4 days in October because one of the thing the most one of the really striking things about that film was how little Manny's in it. I mean, Manny,
yeah, you know what? I remember that. You're right.
and so I went back to look at some of the stats from that series, and I mean, Manny was it wasn't he was on base. He got some of the runs that were important, and so he's on base for it, and so that's important. There's you can't discount that, but he didn't have any of the big hits, which was pretty different from when from the World Series, right, which he was the MVP, and he had some big hits in
Right.
that game. So, but it's interesting that he was because I don't remember that. I mean, you remember 2004 Poppy and Manny, but I mean the Yankee series was all Poppy. I mean, just home runs and walk off hits um, was a big part of it. So what do you make of that? What do you make of Manny's coming back and his
Well, Manny's coming back. Well, the part about him apologizing and him coming out like he's found Jesus and found God, and Jesus told him to become a new man. I just shut up, Manny. You know what I mean? Like, listen, if he's become a better person, great. Okay, good for you, buddy. But like, how many times have we heard people who've led a questionable lifestyle kind of, I mean, Manny was kind of a dick. You know, he was. There's a lot of stories that have been hinted at during his years with the Red Sox that we don't really know about. That he really was a jerk. Um, but just the stuff we know about, he's not a nice dude. He got credit for being kind of Mr. Goofy, hitting savant, and he still was the greatest right-handed hitter I've ever seen. He was an incredible hitter, and every penny of that contract he earned. I don't regret any of that. But for him to come back and apologize and to put on this whole found God spiel, I just find it so phony and so played out and so, I
yeah.
don't buy it for half a second. Now, do I dislike Manny? Do I have anything against him? No. I mean, whatever. That's all I got on it. Whatever. I'm just very skeptical of anybody who does that. Well, here's the thing. He just got hired by Theo Epstein in Chicago
Yeah.
to be a player mentor. He's going to play like two games a week or something like that. Fine, he's 42. Probably can still hit better than a lot of other hitters. Whatever. That's all well and good. I question Theo's judgment in bringing that guy back around. But he wants something from baseball now. So he's coming in with the whole new attitude. I'm a new man. I'm a new guy. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't, for his career when he was hitting the cover off the ball, he didn't need baseball. Baseball needed him.
Yeah.
He didn't need he didn't, now he needs baseball, so he's a new man. That's just where it comes from for me, and that's why I'm always so skeptical of that kind of behavior. And with a guy like Manny, someone's pulling his strings. It's always been that way. Someone else is leading him down the bunny trail. His agent, his wife, someone who's maybe a good influence in his life is telling him to be like that, because what I just said. So I think it's a
Yeah,
bunch of crap.
that's a good point. I didn't put those two things together until you said it. That now that he's sort of trying to be back into baseball, um, and in this sort of come to Jesus moment type thing, which I always roll my eyes at that, particularly with
Yeah.
athletes. It does seem like it's hokey and probably mostly BS. Um, when the guy like Manny, it's probably more likely to be BS than not to be BS, just because
Yeah.
of who he is and what he's done. It's hard to take a lot of anything he says seriously. He
Right.
like you said, he's a fantastic hitter, always was. Even if he was um, supplementing his diet,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
that he still had mad skills that
Yeah.
would have been there anyway. So, um,
Right.
you know, it, and he was a goofball and an idiot savant, like you said. I mean, he just seemed to be able to hit, and he worked hard at it. I mean, it's not like he
He
just would,
did. Yeah. Yeah.
bumble along and then just be able to hit the ball. I mean, he worked really hard.
Uh,
He studied things according to what you hear from other players and stuff.
right.
So,
And that's pretty consistent, though. I
yeah,
believe it.
but then all these other stories too. Anything outside of preparing for being a good hitter, yeah, just didn't register. Even when you talk about fielding, when you talk about outside the game, it's nothing that seemed to matter. And now maybe it's legitimate, and he's looked back and he's seen what kind of basically how he lived his life and the effect it had and where he's ended up and wanting to do things a little differently. I mean, okay, give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, but
Okay.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think he's gonna. It's not like he's going to make a run back into the majors, and
No.
I just it seems unlikely that he.
And if he does, he'll test positive again. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, he's already. I mean, he's just he's just reached a biological point where it's just unlikely to happen. Um,
Right.
and then in terms of being some sort of coach, manager, that seems unlikely. It just doesn't seem like he's got the kind of temperament and personality to be
No.
successful at
Yeah.
that. Now,
Right.
maybe as some sort of hitting coach or something like that, where he's not necessarily being a leader of men or anything like that. He's just got to work with some guys on hitting. Okay,
Yeah, I suppose you could have some
yeah,
value to that.
yeah. So there's something there. So, but and if he's successful at that, great. That's all good. Um, so the Red Sox are still up. It's
7-0.
seven
They're
nothing,
now in the
seventh inning.
seventh inning, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. so hopefully that continues and they'll make it six, in which we sort of called it on the last
We
show.
sort of did, bro.
We said that we wouldn't be surprised if they rattled off, 10,
Yeah.
10 wins in a
And
row, though we kind of backed off a little bit from that. But so if we're looking at six,
no, but it's out there, man. It's on the record. We
yeah,
did both say we wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
yeah.
Can
So,
can I get a prediction out of you on that? Are
what's
they going
that?
to win 10 straight?
No,
No, they're not
no,
gonna. Or you're not
no.
gonna predict it.
No, they're not going to. That just seems on.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
they'll drop a game here. I mean, it just that seems unlikely. I mean, um,
You
now
also said something like might if they more likely they go on like a 14-5 run or something like
right,
that.
right. That I can see. I mean, they after Tampa, they got to go play at Cleveland and at Detroit. Um, and now Detroit, if they want to do 10 in a row, they'd have to sweep Tampa, so win tomorrow,
Mhm.
and then they'd have to sweep Cleveland. Um,
It's
it's
unlikely, and that's in Cleveland.
in Cleveland. So that
Yeah.
and now tomorrow we got Leicester going. So there's a decent chance that we can get this to seven. Um, but you know,
Yeah, I agree with you.
and then you got Lackey, but
Then you got
then
Lackey going, maybe
yeah, but
8,
then you got
and
PV,
then
and so
PV in Cleveland. Yeah,
yeah, so
might hit around a little bit. Yeah.
yeah,
So, but hey, 8 wins after 8 straight, maybe after a 10-game losing streak, puts us back to like what 27, 29 or something like that.
yeah.
Um,
But if I,
that's quite a reversal.
I would, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Leicester doesn't win tomorrow,
Hmm.
and the Red Sox lose
Mhm.
tomorrow. It could happen, uh, but more likely that they'll probably do that. They'll probably win tomorrow. So we'll see. Um, so we got a little time left here. Talk a couple Patriots games. You know, I wanted to check in on the New England Revolution.
Hmm.
They're playing tonight.
Oh, they are. Who are they playing?
They're playing Montreal. They
Montreal any good?
I don't think so.
You don't know.
Well, Canada isn't really a soccer powerhouse, and yet they
Mhm.
did beat New England. So New England snapped its 5 game win streak, and so they've lost to Montreal today. Um, but
Yeah.
they're still doing pretty well, still top of their table. So moving on to the Patriots,
Yeah.
we have game one at Montreal. Montreal. Um,
Got the first letter right.
yeah. What are they playing? The Grays? Or no, is that Toronto? I don't think the Canadian
I
Football
know,
League.
yeah.
Um,
Montreal Rough Riders. I don't know,
is it
something like
Rough
that.
Riders? What?
I think so, man.
Oh, that's weird.
The
So
CFL.
yeah. So
Good time.
so Miami. So they got a
Yeah.
game at Miami. What do you think about this game? First game
At Miami,
season
first game, we
opener.
blow. We smoke them.
You smoke them,
We
huh?
smoke them. Yeah, the Patriots are going to come out on fire with Revis. Brady's going to be firing bullets. We win that game in Miami, I think, fairly easily.
Now we lost there last year.
We did. We tend to lose there, so we usually split with Miami. You
Yeah.
know, they're decent. Tannehill looks to be decent, although he hasn't established himself to be, anything special yet at quarterback. But he looks like a solid quarterback. They're not a doormat by any stretch, but I think the Patriots they have something to prove this year, and I think they're going to come out smoking.
I hope so. And they should. And they should beat Miami. Now my concerns are, as you mentioned, you know, we have a tough time with Miami in Miami. We lost there last year, like I said. In the Tom Brady Belichick era, we've gone 7 of 13 at Miami, so
Mm,
that's just above 500 there. Brady often doesn't play well there, even when we
it's
win.
true. Yep,
And the added factor here is that this is the first game. It's in September. It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot and humid in
it's
Miami.
true.
Uh,
Yeah,
and the Patriots don't often play well. It's early in the season. They're not going to be as well conditioned and as in game shape as later in the season.
it's
So
true. They usually hit their stride November, December.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it would not surprise me in the least bit to see us lose this game.
Wow.
Um, well, it just looking at the way those things play out. Early season, got a couple moving pieces that you're still trying to figure out. You're trying to figure out what to do with Revis, maybe how to work him
Mm,
into the defense, how things are going to be structured. Some of the new guys, and just getting all the pieces together, and then have throwing in the heat, throwing in uh, Tom Brady often not playing well in Miami. Miami trying to prove something. They're coming off an 8-8 season. And they always play us well. It's a divisional game. It wouldn't surprise me. Now, I think they should win, and I wouldn't, I'm not going to count this as a loss, but it just, all I'm saying is that it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't be like, what the fuck? I can't believe we lost. You know,
mm,
like,
yeah. I
like
hear you on
we
that.
really should have had that game. It'd be like, yeah, I mean, I'm almost expecting us to lose in a way. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Okay. But the next two? Are you Minnesota then Oakland at Minnesota and the home opener versus Oakland?
yeah, no, those two
You have
games.
a singing a diff. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
those
those
are
those
wins.
those are games that if we lose those games, I'd be surprised.
Right. That's a. Oh, what the fuck? Can't believe we just lost those two
Right.
games. Right.
I
One
mean,
of those two. Yeah.
because Minnesota, what do they got? They're gonna either have Castle starting, Matt Castle,
Right.
or they're gonna have Bridgewater, who's a rookie. So
Oh, they drafted Teddy Bridgewater.
right. So
Oh yeah. Okay.
so
Either way.
either way, they're not going to be settled at quarterback.
Right.
I would bet if unless things go differently in some way in training camp or whatever, I would expect Bridgewater to be playing in this game, and not Castle. So Bridgewater, I mean, you never know. You still have Peterson back there, so
Yeah.
but it's the kind of team that we should feast on. Uh,
Yeah.
and we usually do a good job stopping the run and stopping the best player, and the
Yep.
best player is going to be Peterson,
Yep.
and then a rookie
Yep.
quarterback.
Peterson runs for 170 yards. We'll stop everything else. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and Peterson's not going to run for 107 yards against the Patriots. That's not going
Probably not.
to
Yep.
no. And another interesting stat that I looked up here is Brady has never lost to Minnesota.
Was that right?
Yeah. Now they haven't played a whole lot. I don't know.
Or
I don't
like
know how
four
many.
or five games, maybe.
Well, the last time we played Minnesota was in 2006, so
Okay, it's been a while.
it's been a while.
It doesn't
But
happen that often.
but we crushed them. There was 31-7 in 2006, but we crushed them.
Nice.
So, um, and so yeah, I expect us to win this game. Now, it's football; anything can happen any given Sunday. But I would expect us to win that game. And Oakland, again, another questionable quarterback situation. What are they going to have? Matt Schaub? David Carr? I don't know. So that's not going to be.
No, they're gonna get. I think that might be the easiest win of the first three
Yeah, yeah. So
because it's here. It's the home opener. It's
right,
Oakland. I
yeah.
mean, come on. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to come all the way across country. So
Right.
yeah, no, that's those two games should be gimmies, not gimmies, but yeah, we should win those games. And those, like
Yeah.
you said, those games would be what the fuck. I can't believe we lost them. Whereas Miami, like I said, I wouldn't it wouldn't shock me. I'd be upset, I'd be pissed, obviously,
Right.
but
Right.
it wouldn't shock me. But and then the next game is
That could be our first loss of the season,
could
in my
be
opinion.
Kansas City. That's going to be tough.
Yep.
We're playing at Kansas City. It's Monday Night Football. They
Yep.
were the comeback kids last year, right? I mean, everyone
They
kind of.
were.
So I'm expecting them
Started off what 7-0, 8-0, something like that. They
something
were
like
they
that.
were they were good.
And now I expect them to drop off. I expect them to regress back a little bit. I don't think they're going
Hmm.
to be quite. And then we saw them drop off in the second half of the season.
That's correct. Yep.
Now Arrowhead is always a tough place to play.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's a worry. Now it's a Monday night game. Patriots going to get extra day to prepare.
Hmm.
We will have seen them play at Denver, all right, because they're coming off games against Miami and Denver, uh, two road games. And so, but they're going to be playing against Denver. That's a divisional rival. They're not going to hold back. So we're going to see a lot of what now you're a team, early in the season, you don't really see a lot of what they're doing, but I think we'll have some good tape on them at that point. So I think that will help us out. Um, and so I don't see this as a definite loss, right? Um, I see it as of those first 4 or 5 games as the one most likely to be a loss, but
Hmm.
I could also see us easily winning that game. I mean, Arrowhead, like we said, is tough to play in, but I think we'll have some advantages depending on how the Patriots are playing. I mean, if the Patriots are playing as we expect them to play, then I think I think that could be a win. But and so I, partly I didn't think Kansas City was as good as they seemed to be last year.
No, and I agree. I
Yeah.
didn't. I felt the same way.
So that's a part of it uh,
Hmm.
for me. Now one more game then to talk about.
Hmm.
We'll do the first 5 then. Is after Kansas City, we come home and we play Cincinnati. Sunday
Hmm.
night football.
Yep.
Cincinnati will be coming off a bye. This is Ben Jarvis, Green, Ellis, Feinberg, and Steinberg. It's Green Ellis's return to the Patriots. Um,
Hmm.
here's an interesting meaningless statistic. Brady and Belichick have never lost against Cincinnati at home. Uh,
Hmm.
so, and we did lose at Cincinnati last year, and that was Tom Brady's first loss
That's right. We did.
to Cincinnati ever on Tom Brady's part.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you know, that means nothing, but it's fun to point out. Uh,
Yep. Like
uh,
you said, meaningless,
yeah.
but still.
So, I'd feel pretty good about this game. Now, of these, I do think we will lose one of these first 5 games. I don't know which one. I'm not, if I had to put money on it, probably be Kansas City or Miami. But I don't think we'll be 5-0. I think we will be 4-1 coming out of the first 5 weeks of the season. We'll lose one of those games. Um, and so that's where I'm sitting at in the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sitting at 4-1. Also, I do think we'll beat Miami. I think Kansas City or Cincinnati will be
Yeah.
the one loss. Yep.
Yeah. Who's the quarterback for Cincinnati?
Uh, uh, Andy.
Andy Dalton.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. I, I forget.
Who had a really good season last year? And
Ah, no,
Cincinnati
he
was good
didn't.
last year.
No, he didn't. He's
Yes,
awful.
yes, he did.
He's
No, he's
terrible.
not. He had a good.
Yeah, he had good games whenever I didn't start him on my fantasy league. When he started
Ah, I was
off,
wondering where the vitriol was coming from. Okay.
he'd be terrible. He'd get like he would like throw an interception and get like no yardage or whatever, and then I'd sit him and he'd get like like 5 touchdowns. Ugh, I hate guys like that. Hate them. So I will never draft him again in fantasy football. Uh,
Hey, it's
so
coming up on time. Sometime next couple months, fantasy football, right?
yeah, well, yeah,
Drafts,
usually
August.
more
Yeah, it's a
August.
way
Yeah,
off.
it's a ways
Yeah,
off.
it's a way
So
off.
one of
Yeah.
these years I want to do a fantasy baseball. Um, but
Yeah, I know. My brother-in-law does that, man.
yeah.
He's very good at it too. Maybe next year we should do it.
Well, I want to do it. I want to get because I love fantasy football. So I want
Yeah,
to,
fantasy baseball. That'd be cool. I mean,
uh,
there's a game every day pretty much, so it
well,
might be a
usually
little bit more.
typically you set your rosters for the week. So
Okay. I'll talk to my brother-in-law, see
uh,
when next time I see him and get some more
there's
info.
also, maybe next year we should do a fantasy hockey.
Dude, that would be
That'd be
intense.
interesting. That'd be interesting. I
That
might
would
be game for
be
that. We should talk about
interesting.
that. We should talk about that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, uh, so coming up, the Red Sox are up. They gave up a run, so it's 7-1. Guy got an inside the park home run. Must have hit it.
Really? Who?
Yeah. Kevin Kiermaier, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
him.
So, um, but top of the eighth, 7-1. So like we already
Good.
mentioned, Red Sox have one more game against the Rays after tonight's game, and then they got series against Cleveland and um,
Starting on Tuesday, Monday off. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
You have it in front of you? I don't have it in front of me. Okay.
I don't have. I had it in front of me. Oh no, I do have it. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. No day off. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Not Thursday is their next day off.
Okay.
MLS. New England they next play New York on June 8th. Um,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much it in terms of Boston sports, right? And nothing else really going on. Some
Not
some
much
rumors some
else.
rumors of Celtics and
Kevin Love in town. Yeah.
Kevin Love. So that's a possibility of some news cycle
Yeah.
going there.
I'll tell you next podcast if that trade breaks or something, that's definitely
Yeah,
worth talking about. I think
yeah.
they become
So
immediately relevant if they get Kevin Love. I'll tell you that much.
one last thing, not really related to Boston sports, but you think the Hawks gonna come back and Blackhawks
Mm.
come back, win, make it to the Stanley Cup, and eh,
Is Game 7 in Chicago?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Then yes, Hawks Rangers, baby.
So who you root for?
Ooh, that's a good question, Shawn. Oh, I'm gonna root for the Hawks because I
Yeah.
like them. I like the Hawks, I really do, and I don't like the Rangers. I like the Rangers because they beat the Canadians, but that's as far as it goes.
Well, they're a New York team.
Hawks.
They're a New York team. We
Yeah,
can't root.
exactly.
So
No, you're right. Yeah, I root for them against the Canadians. That's it.
yeah. I mean, the one pullback I have against rooting for the Hawks is that
I know.
is just some of the insufferable fans that are going to be around.
I was just gonna say that your
Like,
insufferable fans around you.
but I'm sure that they all think that I'm insufferable wearing my Red Sox and Patriots gear all the time and to always
You
talk.
might be more insufferable than they are,
Probably,
frankly.
probably.
There's
So
nothing worse than a Boston fan. Tell you the truth,
we're pretty bad. We're pretty bad.
we are obnoxious. I know.
All right. Anything else?
That's it, buddy. Good talking to you.
All right. This has been the Boston Sports Pod. You can find us at bostonsportspod.com. Thanks for listening.